Right, good morning everybody and welcome to this morning's webinar. If you've already been online, thank you for joining early. I'm sure there'll be a few people, as everybody does, join around 10 o'clock. So let's just give you a quick introduction. We're going to be talking today about a secure wireless. It's a little bit of a different topic, something you may have or may not have heard of. But we're just going to go through a high-level overview and then give you some tips and tricks, what to do, how to use it, and obviously, most importantly, how to follow up with some next steps and next actions. For those of you who have joined us before, this is a series of webinars. This is the third in the series, and as the year goes through, 2020, we're going to continue talking about various different topics, different WatchGuard products, and how the WatchGuard and ADM partnership can really help you secure your network environments. In terms of an introduction, my name's Jon-Marc Wilkinson. I'm Sales Director for UK and Ireland. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, and this is my actual 9th, 10th year within WatchGuard. Hopefully what I can bring is some great experience across the channel. So I've actually sold directly into customers, worked with resellers, partners such as ADM, worked with distribution, and now with a vendor. All my years I've been working in security sales. So hopefully we can give you some advice on how best to secure your environments. And today, what are we going to talk about? So today we're going to talk about the WatchGuard ADM partnership. Of course, this is probably the most important thing. How together with ADM partnering with us, and quite frankly, us partnering with ADM, we can really provide you a secure solution, whether that be from a commercial standpoint, whether that be from installation or technical pre-sales, or whether that be once the solution is installed and we actually move forward and help you with any technical issues that might arise. Then we're going to have a little look at the threat landscape. We always have a little bit of a discussion around the threat landscape, what security features are resonating at the moment, and why it's important to secure your network environment and your wireless environments against the latest threats, whether these are types of ransomware accounts such as WannaCry, CryptoLocker, etc., whether these are phishing attacks. These are all relevant, and these are all things that can stem from, or threats that can stem from, wireless attacks and the type of data you can leak by not having secure wireless. Then we're going to go into the 6 Wi-Fi threat categories. These are the 6 categories that you may not have heard of, but are those categories, are those threats that hackers are now using to exploit your potentially unsecure wireless network. But again, with WatchGuard and with ADM, we can hopefully help you remediate and mitigate those threats. And then we're going to talk about WIPs. This is the way, or wireless intrusion prevention. And this is a solution that we and ADM will use to actually secure the wireless infrastructure. It's important to say at this point, anything that you have, any wireless access point or solution you have at the moment, anything that's been provided by ADM is absolutely fine. We are not saying at this moment in time to replace your wireless infrastructure. What we are saying is that potentially the wireless infrastructure isn't as secure as it could be, and by adding a few access points in addition to what you have that will act as what we call WIP sensors, we'll talk about that in a moment, then you can secure your environment. So again, we're not asking for you to replace your existing infrastructure. Let's talk a little bit about partnership. Whenever you're looking to take on a new solution, it's important that you're guided through that process by a thought leader, by somebody who's knowledgeable in that arena. Of course, what we like to do, and I think you've already done, is partner with a company such as ADM. ADM for us has been a very loyal partner that's been selling WatchGuard solutions for crikey, way over 10 years. With that, they have great skills in-house, whether it be from sales or technical, and to put that into perspective, they are what we call a WatchGuard One Gold partner. Our WatchGuard One partnership entails and is driven by certifications. So the only way that you can get or become a WatchGuard One Gold partner is through becoming fully certified, whether that be sales certification or technical certification. So what does that mean to you? What that means to you is ADM are able to provide you with secure solutions. They're able to sell them. They're able to provide them to you at the most competitive pricing, and they're also able to securely deploy them for you, so that you know that when the solution has gone in, that it's going to be sound, it isn't going to fall over, and you're going to have a fully working solution. Put those two together, and what we're talking about today is providing you with a secure wireless solution. So that's through the partnership, through ADM and WatchGuard, we're able to provide you with this secure wireless product, and we'll talk a little bit about what they are in a moment. But I also like to talk about the threat landscape. This is what we do. So by way of an introduction to WatchGuard, WatchGuard is a company that has been around for 25 years. We've always been providing secure solutions. So we don't provide networking, we don't provide telephony, but we provide pure secure solution, and that's across 3 pillars. Network security with our firewalls, endpoint security with our multi-factor authentication and our endpoint security, and then we've got our wireless security, which is provided via cloud managed access points and our wireless security solutions. All of these products have security at its foundation level, and that is because what we see out there in the environment is a huge amount of threats that are not only attacking the enterprise end users out there, but is attacking every level of customers, whether it be from a small retail outlet to a county council, to a local council, to an NHS establishment. These threats are all across the board, and they don't differentiate. And it's important at this point we say these threats do not differentiate. We mentioned earlier in the presentation about CryptoLocker. I know in previous presentations I've mentioned CryptoLocker is the same whether it's attacking a central government or whether it's attacking an estate agent. It's the same with the same level of intelligence, the same level of attack, that whether it's whoever it's attacking. So therefore, you as a customer have to prepare yourselves with enterprise level solutions, and that's what we bring as WatchGuard to our mid-market and small market customers. And we bring that at a price point that is attractive to that level of customer. But what are we trying to protect, and why is it important? Well, it's important because out there in the wild, we've got 2 main types of attacks and 2 types of malware. We've got what we call no malware and what we call zero-day malware. No malware is those types of viruses or those types of ransomware that is known, that vendors have can protect against. However, there's a larger proportion of those types of malware that we call zero-day, and they are targeted attacks, and targeted attacks that will attack, again, any type of customer. So just because you may think, well, I'm not an enterprise, they don't require my data, well, they do require your data. And generally, and it's not generally the case, but they will maybe see the small to medium businesses as a soft underbelly, an easier place to attack. And 59% of all the malware that we see is zero-day. That means there is no protection for it. And therefore you need what we call zero-day. We need heuristic type scanners. That is self-learning scanners, and that's what we will bring you as WatchGuard. You think, why are we talking about this when it comes to wireless? But it will become apparent, and it should become apparent because what hackers are trying to do is get your credentials, and your credentials can be very easily accessed by hackers intercepting your wireless traffic. Once they've got those credentials, they can launch these sorts of attacks in a very targeted way, whether it's by phishing attacks, spear phishing attacks, or just accessing the network via those credentials that they've managed to get when they've hacked into your wireless network. These numbers have been taken for the last month, and you can actually get access to these numbers by going to a website called www.secplicity.org. When you go onto that website, you can sort by various variables. One is whether it's in the Americas, Asia Pacific, or EMEA, and then you can sort by country. This is for the UK, and this is over the last month. Over the last month, we've actually seen and managed to block 96,000 attacks, or 96,000 network attacks via malware. You break this down for some fun facts. Every day we're looking at and blocking over 3,000 attacks. Every hour we're blocking 134 attacks. And that's why ADM partners with WatchGuard when it comes to network security, because this is what you guys will be facing and your companies could be facing on a daily basis. And again, these types of attacks that you're facing do not differentiate. So the level is sophisticated, the types of threats are high, and therefore your networks could be exploited. And they could be exploited very easily if a hacker managed to get some credentials. And what do we mean by credentials? We mean usernames, passwords, and just because passwords are stored on a laptop by a series of numbers and hashes and not by actual letters, these again can be very easily attacked, accessed by what we call sort of dictionary brute force attacks. Bear with me. So if we move on now and we talk about Wi-Fi threats, and why Wi-Fi threats are now becoming more and more important. It's worth mentioning at this point that, of course, wireless solutions have been out for years and years now, and I'm sure you are operating a wireless network at the moment. But wireless networks have for years now been purely around giving people access to the network without using a network cable. And of course, this is fantastic. But what we've always got to think is your clients aren't always sitting behind a firewall such as WatchGuard. It could be another vendor, but they're not always sitting behind a WatchGuard firewall. So just because you have wireless access points on your network, that then when we go out and search for various websites or send various emails, then it has to go through the WatchGuard firewall or the firewall before it goes out into the internet. These laptops, your remote users, are not always behind firewalls, and therefore they might be out in coffee shops or accessing from home. And this is where these threats become more and more dangerous, and we'll explain why in a moment. There's 6 main threat categories that we've now seen out there. And these are threat categories, and we'll talk about a couple in a moment, that hackers are using to get access to your data, to get access to your username and passwords. Probably the easiest one to talk about is something like an evil twin attack, or maybe a rogue access point. So let me explain. So if you've got a network, or if your remote users are out, let's say in a coffee shop, what a hacker will do is use a very cheap tool which is called a pineapple. This pineapple can masquerade itself as an access point. So for example, if you're in Starbucks, or if you're in Cafe Nero or Costa, just not to show favoritism, they can actually, obviously a user can get access to the Starbucks website. What the pineapple device can do, or what the hacker can do, is create an access point, or an SSID, which is the naming convention of an access point, to say Starbucks access point. So you probably think, well, what does that mean? Well, what that means is people want to get onto the wireless very easily, very quickly. And if people want to do that, they don't want to have to sign up. They don't want to have to put their username passwords in, because they may feel that's insecure. So what they will do, they will go for the access point that maybe says Starbucks, but doesn't require any type of username password, doesn't require this sort of challenge and response type mechanism for getting access. They just join it, and by joining it, they will then have got access not to the Starbucks access point, but to the hacker's access point that is masquerading as Starbucks. Once they do that, then everything they search, every key they press will be logged: username, password, bank account details, websites. That will all be farmed off by the hacker and then can be used to launch an attack, a very targeted attack to that user's company. It can be used, those credentials can then be used for phishing attacks. And if they're used to use phishing attacks, they will now have the name of maybe the people that they're emailing. If they've got the names, it's very easy for them to launch a phishing attack, because you'll have the name of the person that he would usually be sending an email to, and with a few very subtle changes, launching the attack, maybe getting money out of the account, or maybe just getting data. So these types of things are very important when it comes to Wi-Fi networks, because the majority of Wi-Fi networks out there don't have security built in. And if they do, as we'll come on to talk about, it probably doesn't work in the way that will best protect. Let's move on just to talk about very quickly about maybe an access point within your own company. So what could happen now is that you may think again, well, I'm going to be connecting through a WatchGuard firewall, but it's very easy again for somebody to bypass that and use their phone as a mobile hotspot. Using a phone as a mobile hotspot, 80%, a huge proportion of traffic actually goes through across wireless networks. So this can be very vulnerable and susceptible to attacks. So by somebody simply using their mobile phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot, because maybe you don't allow people to surf Facebook, to listen to music, they will then circumvent that by using the phone. The phone can then be accessed by the hacker. They will then get credentials. If they get credentials, they then launch attacks. So these are very sophisticated attacks that are now being brought into the wireless environment, that perhaps, because wireless has been purely used as a productivity and access tool, that you may not have considered. Again, and we'll talk about this, when we're talking about protecting your wireless networks, please don't think we're asking to replace everything that you've already got. It's probably just, it is just using a ratio of 1 to 3, 1 to 4. So we'll use one WatchGuard access point for every 3 to 4 access points you have, and we'll use that as a WIP sensor, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Just as you as customers are responsible for keeping your employees safe on the network, that does include enforcing and maintaining a secure wireless network as well. So it's something that is quite often overlooked when we speak with customers. It's, well, of course, we've got a very secure network, we've got a firewall, we've got multi-factor authentication, but what we don't have is any sort of security on the wireless environments. And when we talk them through the 6 wireless threats, they quite often say, well, we don't have anything to protect against that. So this is really something we're pioneering, called TWE, Trusted Wireless Environment. As I'll move on to talk about, this is actually officially sanctioned by different wireless analysts, and we'll talk about that. But it's just to mention that we certainly believe, and analysts and the people who are delivering wireless from other vendors as well, are saying that, you know, you do have a responsibility to make sure you're adopting a specific security policy or framework that will keep your employees safe whilst they're online, maybe not on the network, but on the Wi-Fi environment. But quite often, other Wi-Fi vendors don't decide to do this. And the reason they don't decide to do this is because, well, look here, it's a number of things. Is it hard? Is it expensive? Sometimes they claim to do things that just don't stand up. And that's because, you know, all the above are really correct. To actually get a certified, a recognized Wi-Fi security solution, it has to be independently analysed, it has to be verified, it has to be certified, and all of this costs money. Now, what you've got with WatchGuard and why ADM is partnering with our security solution on the wireless access points is because it is independently verified. And we also, it is the only type of security solution on the wireless in the wireless environments of its type. The reason people don't generally get these things verified is because, as I said, it is extremely expensive to set up these tests, to make sure they work, and to make sure that when you switch it on, it's not just taking down standard access points, to make sure it's not taking out your neighbouring company's access point, to make sure it's not issuing numerous false positives. We have to demonstrate this. We have to test this using various testing categories. So we're looking to test them against the various threat categories. We're having to set up configuration for all the different types of attack tools. We're having to measure them against various other vendors out there to make sure that our security solution stacks up against their security solutions, and hopefully for us and for you in better. We also want to have a defined infrastructure, and all of this has to take place by independent analysts. That costs money, that takes time, and generally people still think that wireless is just for productivity, it's just to get people access, maybe guests, onto the network. But again, this creates issues, this creates threats, this could lead to your company being hacked, and if it's hacked, data breaches, fines, etc. So this is why a lot of people don't go through this methodology. And another reason why people don't go through this methodology is because when they try to, it generally fails. I mean, maybe you can take this with a pinch of salt. Of course, I'm going to say we pass everything, but with the MEACOM tests, which you can download yourself, which is available on our website, but you can speak to MEACOM, who is an independent analyst and a testing center. Everything that we do when it comes to testing and when it comes to security of wireless environments, any type of the 6 Wi-Fi threat categories that could potentially hit your environment, we pass, we see, we protect against. That means when you're partnering with WatchGuard as a second layer to your existing wireless solution, then you can be assured that you will be protected against all those potential threats. Now, what is WIPS prevention? Well, WIPS prevention is as follows. So, as I've said, and as I've mentioned before, you have, I'm sure, a wireless environment. And I'm sure potentially if you partner with ADM for a number of years, they will have sold you a wireless environment. And again, I know the wireless that they suggest, I know the wireless they recommend. It is a fantastic wireless product. I would not be saying anything against that whatsoever. However, what we are now partnering with ADM on is the security aspect. So let me put this into some sort of example. For those of you who have been around networking for many years, will remember when networks were first out and they were protected by purely a firewall. Allowed a few things in, allowed a few things out, and it really protected that perimeter. There wasn't anything else. There was very limited anti-spam, limited antivirus. There was almost nothing along the lines of intrusion prevention or intrusion detection. But then intrusion prevention was released, and it was released as a separate appliance that you put on the network to look at those threats that the firewall wouldn't pick up. This is very similar. This is the first release. This is the next level of wireless protection that is on the wireless network. So think of the wireless network like a physical network, but obviously just wireless. This is adding that first level of security that you really do need to secure that environment. And as it says here, you will only need 1 WIP sensor to 4 of your existing access points. And those access points can be anything, any vendor. What then happens is that WIP sensor will send out marker packets. Those marker packets will constantly be sent to everything that it sees on the network. So is it seeing, it sends a marker packet out to your existing wireless access points. Tick, authorized, it's recognized by the WatchGuard system, nothing will happen. It will then ping out, and we were just talking here this morning about ADMs, they're running a WIP sensor here, and sometimes a bus might pass outside. It will see that, it has the range to see that, but it is noted as being external to the company and therefore potentially not a threat. It will then pass by and not take action. However, if there's a rogue access point in the network, then we will take action, because it will ping and it won't recognize it. It will then look to see what it's doing. Where's it connecting? What's it seeing? What's it doing? It will then take action. And how does it take action? It literally floods that access point with marker packets. It's a bit like a DDoS attack. It will flood it, and therefore it will take the access point out of action. It will take it out of action, it will take it off the network, it will stop anybody from potentially accessing that access point. If they're on the access point, then it will stop that access point from working, and it will kick off those users. So it's a very simple, very easy, and again, we're the only people to do it in the way that we do, way of protecting your network and your wireless network from potential people trying to hack into that network, trying to gain credentials from that network. And again, this is just a diagram to really explain it in another way. Authorized users, absolutely fine. Neighboring users, absolutely fine. But rogue access points, no, we'll take it off the network. So next steps. Looking at the time, it's 10:27, so this should take me about 3 minutes and we'll be bang on the half an hour. So next steps. It's almost the exact same as we talked about. The next steps are partnership. The partnership with ADM. That is your first step to have some guidance around what WIP sensors are all around and what they're all about. The reason you can trust them is because they're a WatchGuard One partner. They're not just a WatchGuard One partner. They're a top-level Microsoft partner. They're a top-level Sophos partner. They're a top-level Duo partner. They're a top-level partner. They're technical in what they do. Therefore, when you're looking at maybe integrating WatchGuard into your environment, they will have that skill set to be able to say, what else are you using? This is how WatchGuard integrates into that solution. Because though, however, they're a WatchGuard One Gold partner, they'll be able to provide you product at a competitive price point. And again, by partnering with WatchGuard, by partnering with ADM, will enable you as a customer to provide an enterprise level secure wireless product that will protect your network, your wireless environment, and most importantly, your users from being attacked, from losing credentials, and then having more targeted attacks placed upon your network, and potentially data breaches, potentially fines, potentially just embarrassment caused to the company. So with that, I believe that's the last slide. Thank you very much for attending. If there's any questions that have popped into the via the Teams tool, we will be sending out an email following this presentation. We will be sending out an email answering those questions with a recording of the presentation if you want to watch it back. But with that, I think that's it from me. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.